For years, a plan for war sat on the desk of the most powerful person in the world. A plan pitched to 4 different American presidents. A plan that could have redrawn the map of the Middle East.
3 of them, from both sides of the aisle, all came to the exact same conclusion. As former Secretary of State John Kerry put it, Obama said no, Bush said no, President Biden said no.
That leaves one very big and very important question. So, which U.S. president said yes?
Well, the answer reveals a moment that brought the world to the brink, and a decision that completely split 4 presidencies.
So here's the story. For years, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu was relentlessly pushing a plan inside the White House, a joint U.S.-Israeli military strike against Iran. He pitched it to President George W. Bush. Bush said no. He pitched it to President Barack Obama. Obama also said no. And he pitched to President Joe Biden, who, you guessed it, also said no. But right there, in the middle of that timeline, one president broke the pattern.
And here's where it gets really interesting. It's not just who said no, it's why. 3 different administrations spanning decades of foreign policy all came to the same conclusion. They had not exhausted all the remedies of peaceful process. But then, after what was described as a hard sell from Netanyahu in the Situation Room, President Donald Trump's response was reportedly a simple, "Sounds good to me."
So what was this hard sell built on? It all came down to a single, very powerful prediction, that a joint military strike would kick off a popular uprising and the Iranian government would just collapse. A nice, clean, easy regime change. But here's the thing. That popular uprising, as John Kerry later pointed out, it never happened. It was a phantom. And this is where we get to the human cost of these massive decisions. Kerry, who was a Vietnam veteran himself, saw a direct line between this kind of thinking and the painful lessons we learned from Vietnam and Iraq. He gave this really stark warning. Don't lie to the American people and then ask them to send their sons and daughters to fight. I mean, the stakes just couldn't be any higher. But, that kind of high-stakes gamble isn't just limited to war rooms. At the very same time, another billion-dollar plan built on some pretty similar optimistic assumptions was also about to end in total disaster.
Only this time, the stage isn't the Situation Room, it's a launch pad. And the gamble doesn't involve soldiers, it involves satellites.
Let's just walk through the anatomy of this failure. Jeff Bezos' company, Blue Origin, finally launched its massive New Glenn rocket. It was carrying a really important satellite for a company called AST SpaceMobile. But right after liftoff, the engine just didn't have enough power. The official term was insufficient thrust. In the world of rocketry, that is a catastrophic failure. This one problem left a multi-million-dollar satellite stranded in a totally useless orbit, basically turning it into space junk. The mission was a complete loss, and the FAA immediately grounded the entire program. And the fallout on Wall Street was immediate. AST SpaceMobile stock took a nosedive, dropping over 6% as their huge investment literally just floated away. This failure really highlights the massive gap in the so-called billionaire space race. I mean, think about it. While Elon Musk's Starlink has thousands of satellites in orbit, Blue Origin, after all these years and all that money, has yet to successfully deploy a single one. So we have a war plan and we have a rocket launch. They seem completely unrelated, right? But what if I told you they share the exact same critical flaw? Look at it this way. On one side, you've got a foreign policy gamble that was built on the prediction of an easy regime change. On the other side, you've got a corporate tech gamble built on the assumption of a perfect launch. See the connection? Both were totally rooted in what one U.S. official called overly rosy assumptions, a really dangerous belief that the best-case scenario is the only one that's going to happen. So what happens when these optimistic plans smash into reality? Who ends up paying the price for that kind of failure? From war rooms to boardrooms, the cost of rosy assumptions is just immense. A failed rocket costs billions of dollars. A miscalculated war costs human lives. And this all brings us to our final question for you. When powerful leaders make these huge, high-stakes gambles, who is ultimately responsible for the consequences? Is it a president approving a war or a CEO launching a rocket? How should we hold them accountable when it all goes wrong? Let us know what you think down in the comments.